So, guys, another show, another week, 3 days, lots of round tables, lots of interviews. You've been out on the floor, met lots of people. Mike, perhaps I can start with you. What have you seen out there?
Well, it's been pretty big. It's a concentrated dose of the capital equipment industry here. I've heard some people describe it as the Productronica of the U.S.
Okay.
On a very small scale.
Yep.
Yeah. But the major players are here. We've seen the new lines of production equipment for people like Yamaha, like Juki. Kurtz Ursa unveiled their new machine. Same thing from Pillar House Selective Soldering. So all the new machines are here.
Yeah, lots of new technology and lots of, as you say, bigger than we've ever seen before at Apex. And it looks like a lot of investment in the booth, lots going on in the booth. Kim, from your point of view, what have you seen out on the floor?
Actually, I want to go off the floor to the keynote first, because for me that was the beginning of the whole show, obviously as a keynote on the first day. But it was done by Miriam Bielik. I'm probably saying her name wrong, but from The Big Bang Theory. And one of the key messages there that I got was, there's a perception that the industry is quite geeky and quite insular, and we're trying to encourage new blood to come into it. And what her story was, that she never had anybody to guide her, to give her that training or to mentor her. And I think particularly a show like Apex and the involvement with the IPC, with a world-class training program, etc., is that biology teacher that Miriam had when finally it switched to, I'm going to become a neuroscientist. From blossom to neuroscientist. So for me that resonated with the whole theme of what we're doing here, what the exhibitors are doing here, and what you probably experienced on the show floor as well.
And I when I was talking to Trevor earlier, we were talking about this kind of watershed. One of the things we saw was some succession plans. For example, Bob Black talked about his succession plans. You were there, I think, for that press conference.
Yep. Yeah, so Bob has resigned as the president of Juki and handed it over to Bill Astle, who was brought on a few years ago, I think in a position that was very clear that he was to succeed Bob. I know that Bob is going to stay on as the CEO for a certain amount of time. But succession plan.
Interesting, and as much young blood as we can get in the industry would be great. There's too many of these grey hairs in the industry, in my opinion. I know you two are doing much better on that front than I am. In terms of where we've gone in terms of technology, the other thing that I've been banging on about for some time is the breakout of IOM and Industry 4.0. I felt this year that's moved along because previously I'd been talking to vendors mainly about the topic. Now there's more conversation amongst the EMS, and I guess you're seeing that on pretty much every factory floor you're offering out there. You mentioned ASMs, for example. Yeah,
so here at the show this year, ASM, they had their virtual factory tour, and you went through, it was pretty cool. You had the RFID tag, and they took you to each station from as if you were a new product introduction, through the material handling, through all the processing, and then out the other end. And the one thing that I think is really a big deal is that now that there's the technology in place to be gathering all this information, people don't really know what to do with it all. So there's so much. And there are a couple companies here now that are just dedicated software companies that are purely for analyzing these large amounts of data from all these companies that only need a small percentage of it to really optimize processing. And that's something we're going to see, I think, more of in the future.
It comes to what you talked about people coming into the industry. That's one of the skills that we're really going to need, a lot of data analysts and that programming. What have you seen on the Industry 4.0 IOM side of things?
The one that stood out for me is a conversation I had with Tom Forsyth, Kaizen, cleaning materials, going into Industry 4.0. It's sort of, initially it was about equipment, it was about production and processes. It's going into the peripheries of everything that is involved in the production of electronics. And you don't associate that with cleaning. Yet it's reality on that level.
With I think it's Analyzer, their product. I think that is really interesting, and we're seeing it not just in the periphery of the manufacturing process, but we're also seeing it move outside of the factory walls into business practices, into the supply chain as well. So lots and lots of developments there. So and for me it's been a really interesting show. One of the things that fascinated me about this sharing of data is it's broken down a few barriers between companies that traditionally don't play nicely together. So I think they're having to collaborate in a way they haven't before.
And I think that it will grow also because we're going to start seeing companies maybe that wouldn't ever be represented here, like a data security firm or something. Because let's think about that. When you have all of a sudden, if you have a third party who's gathering all this data from various companies, you have not only the threat of like a malicious attack, which is probably fairly rare, but a lot of intellectual property protection. So you're going to have somebody they might not be comfortable sharing all this data with a third party, and that's going to be something that's going to be confronted.
Cybersecurity is certainly one of the challenges of IOM. Guys, thanks very much for stopping by. Great chat, and safe journey home for both of you.
Thank you
very much.